Hi, I'm Kai Savage. I am doing Biology A-Level, and today we are going to be looking at things that might come up in the exam, things that will probably come up in homeostasis. And I have already done this video, but it deleted it. And my last video was probably a lot more entertaining and probably had a lot more humour and funny bits in. But, yeah, you're not going to get that one because I've already done it. So, I did my nails to make me feel better. I'm going to show you them from here. I know they're messy around the edge. I haven't tied them up yet, but they're pretty. They're like gold with pink lines down them. So they're cool. But you can't really see the pink lines from here. Anyway, so in this video we're going to look at positive feedback, and then we're going to look at the control of heart rate and how that is changed in humans. So let's start off with positive feedback. Positive feedback is less common than negative feedback, and when positive feedback occurs, it's usually to increase the original change, and it is usually harmful for the body. It's not good. It's a process that detects any change, increases any change detected by the receptor and increases them. It tends to be harmful and does not lead to homeostasis. For example, if you got really cold, if you went below a certain core body temperature, the enzymes become less active. And if they're less active, then exergenic reactions that release heat are slower, so they release less heat. This allows the body to cool down even more, so the enzyme reactions are slowed down again even more, so the body temperature spirals downwards and downwards and downwards. That is an example of positive feedback where it is not helpful. However, there are a couple of ways that positive feedback can be helpful. For example, if at the end of pregnancy the cervix is dilating, as the cervix begins to stretch, the change is signalled to the anterior pituitary gland, and this stimulates it to release oxytocin, which is a hormone. It increases uterine contractions, which stretches the cervix more, which causes secretion of more oxytocin. So it just keeps like stretching and dilating, and once the cervix is fully dilated, the baby can be born. So how is positive feedback different from negative feedback? As this is a video not about that, I'm just going to say the example. Negative feedback is a process that brings about a reversal of any change, ensuring that an optimum steady state can be maintained, whereas positive feedback increases any change. It doesn't return it back to normal. So if you're doing a little flow diagram, it will go optimum change, then there was a change away from the optimum, the receptor detects this change, the communication system informs the effector, but then the effector, instead of returning it back to the optimum, it reacts to increase the change. So that is positive feedback. Another thing that could come up in in homeostasis and communication is the control of heart rates, which is something I absolutely loathe. At AS level, I was great on the heart. I knew loads and loads of things about it, and then I get to A level, and I'm like, what's the sinoatrial node? What's a ventricle? Actually, I can't remember those bits, but this bit is just, it's so hard. So to start off with, okay, we do it though. We're going to do it. Start off with the human heart pumps blood around the circulatory system, and blood supplies the tissues with oxygen and nutrients like glucose, fatty acids, amino acids. It also removes the waste products. And the requirements of the cells vary according to the level of activity. So when you're being really active, if you're running around, your muscle cells obviously need more oxygen and glucose, and your heart muscle cells need more oxygen and fatty acids. And the cells also need to remove carbon dioxide. So it's important that the heart can meet the requirements of the body. So how does the heart adapt to supply more oxygen and glucose? Well, the most obvious change is that it beats more. The activity of the heart is an increase in the number of beats per minute. That is known obviously as the heart rate. And the heart can also increase the strength of its contractions. It can also increase the volume of blood being pumped per beat, and that is called the stroke volume. So we know that the heart rate can change. It can increase and decrease, but how is that controlled? Well, the heart rate is myogenic, which, if you remember from AS level, means that it can initiate its own contractions. The heart also contains its own pacemaker. This is called the sinoatrial node. I'm going to call it the SAN for short throughout this. The SAN is a region of tissue, and these can initiate an action potential, which sends a wave of excitation over the atrial walls through the atrioventricular node, I'll shorten that to AVN, and down the Purkinje fibers to the ventricles, causing them to contract. The heart is also supplied by nerves from the medulla oblongata in the brain, and these are in control. And while they don't initiate the contractions, they're in control and can affect the frequency of the contractions. Action potentials sent down the accelerator nerve increase the heart rate, and action potentials sent down the vagus nerve decrease. Want a good way to remember that? Think of accelerator, acceleration, accelerate the heart rate, make it faster. Vagus nerve decreases the heart rate. Think of vagus as in vague, like, yeah, I'm just going to be really vague about it. Yeah, I don't know, I might have gone to that party. I don't know, I don't remember, Mum. Vague, being really slow. So vagus nerve, really slow. The heart muscle also responds to the presence of the hormone adrenaline in the blood. So now, what are the interactions between the control mechanisms? Well, the various factors that affect heart rate must interact in a coordinated way to ensure that the heart beats at the most appropriate rate. You wouldn't want to be lying in bed and it starts beating really fast, and then again you wouldn't want to be running a race and it is beating really slowly. Under resting conditions, the heart rate is controlled by the SAN, which has set frequencies. This varies from person to person, but the frequency of the waves is usually about 60 to 80 per minute. However, the frequency of these excitation waves can be controlled by the cardiovascular centre in the medulla oblongata. Now, there are loads of factors that affect the heart rate. Movement of the limbs is detected by stretch receptors in the muscles. These send impulses to the cardiovascular centre and informs that the extra oxygen might soon be needed, and this tends to increase the heart rate. When we exercise, the muscles produce more carbon dioxide, and they also take up more oxygen. And some of this carbon dioxide reacts with the water in the blood plasma and reduces the pH. This pH reduction is detected by the chemoreceptors in the carotid arteries. The carotid arteries, the aorta, and the brain. But remember that, think of it, they're detected by the carotid arteries, the aorta, and the brain. The chemoreceptors send impulses to the cardiovascular centre, which increases the heart rate. However, when we stop exercising, the concentration of carbon dioxide in the blood falls. This reduces the activity of the accelerator pathway. Therefore, the heart rate declines. Next, do you remember I mentioned adrenaline? Well, adrenaline is secreted in response to stress, shock, anticipation, or excitement. The presence of adrenaline in the blood increases the heart rate, which helps prepare the body for activity. I did psychology at AS level last year, and we were doing all about stress, which also involved adrenaline and like how that works and stuff. So when this came up, I was like, oh yeah, that's good, I know about adrenaline. So if you did psychology last year, then you're set. Blood pressure is also monitored by stretch receptors in the walls of the carotid sinus. This is a small swelling in the carotid artery. If blood pressure rises too high, maybe during vigorous exercise, the stretch receptors send signals to the cardiovascular centre, and this responds by reducing the heart rate. A good thing to do is to learn this diagram. Okay? It's really helpful, and maybe if they ask you a question, you could draw that out, and then maybe write a couple of sentences underneath, and you'll get the marks. If you want a couple of questions, although this isn't really a question video, because this is what will come up. If you want them anyway, why must the heart be able to respond to increased physical activity? What happens when adrenaline is secreted into the blood? What is the medulla oblongata, and what does it do? You could also do... I can't think of any others. What happens when we exercise, and how does the body respond to this? Obviously, about heart rate. I don't know, going off about, I don't know, something else. Oh yeah, I did this in under 10 minutes. And then before, it was a much better video. Oh well, I did it again. You guys should feel so lucky. I've done like 2 videos on this for you. Okay, I have nice subscribers. I don't have that many, because not that many people in the world do biology A level, and the ones that do don't always look it up, and the ones that do look it up don't always subscribe to me, which you should. But the ones that do, you're really nice. And thank you for all your messages. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the friend requests on Facebook. Don't add me on Facebook, but you can follow me on Twitter. My name is @KaibenSavage. I also have Tumblr. If you want my Tumblr name, message me. So yeah, so that was it, and good luck in your exam if you have it tomorrow. If you don't and you're just looking this up, this probably won't come up next year if it comes up tomorrow, but still. Anyway, good luck.